Hey guys, welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit, Am I the A-hole? This one's from user Throwaway Stepbro. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to share room with stepbrother anymore after he came out? My dad got married over a year ago. His wife moved in with her son, who's same age as me, 16. It's a 2-bedroom house, so Steven moved into my room too. It didn't bother me before because I was mostly with my mom and my dad only on weekends. My mom got called out of state for work and she's not gonna be back for months, so I'm now with him full time. I've met Steven a few times, but now being here all the time, I notice weird stuff. There's a bathroom in my room and he literally gets out naked every single time, even when I was already in the room before he went in. I always tell him, what the F, and he says sorry, but always does it. Now I just leave the room when he showers. When I play video games, he'll come sit right next to me and we're pressed right against each other. There's more space on the couch, so it bothers me that he does that. Other times, he'll be talking to me and put his hand right on my lap, but like not move it. I don't know, it's weird for me because I don't like being touched, but he's always super touchy with me no matter how many times I tell him I hate it. What's made it really uncomfortable is when I change or something in the room. He straight up watches me and it creeps me out, so now I go do that in the bathroom too. It's always weird when he's around and I just don't like it, and he always wants to be around me. He came out 2 months ago and now some stuff makes sense. It's more awkward because I feel like he's into me or something. Still stares if he comes in when I'm changing my clothes, but acts like he wasn't. Gets naked around me when he's changing. So I told my dad I don't want to share my room with him anymore and said why. My dad doesn't think it's wrong the way he is, but let me turn the basement downstairs into my own room when I asked him. It was a TV room we never used and it had lots of space for my bed and all my other stuff. Steven's mad now that I don't want to share a room with him. He says I'm being homophobic because what a coincidence, I'm only doing it now after he came out. His mom is mad too and thinks I'm overreacting because boys change in locker rooms together all the time, so that shouldn't make me uncomfortable. She says too that I'm being weird only because he's gay. But I don't know, I was always uncomfortable in locker rooms too. And plus, he straight up walks around naked in front of me, which I don't like. It's tense at home with them both saying I'm being homophobic, and Steven says I'm hurting his feelings not wanting to share that space anymore. I didn't like any of the stuff he was doing even before he came out, but now it just got to the point I was fed up with it. Knowing that he's gay just made me start to wonder if it was all being done on purpose. So I don't know, am I being an a-hole? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Black Manta 04 says, not the a-hole, and shouldn't have anything to do with him being gay. You've set your boundaries and he keeps knowingly and willingly crossing them. If your parents won't do anything, then start using the phrase sexual harassment, because that is literally what it is. Get a teacher or counselor involved too. You aren't being homophobic at all. Vix Harlow says, you are uncomfortable with his behavior. It is better to allow you to have your own space than to try to make this a homophobia issue. Most everyone would be weirded out by someone just being openly nude in front of them, regardless. The incompatibility in comfort levels is a reason in and of itself. Clarice 1984 says, not the a-hole. Not wanting to be touched against your will, not wanting to see someone naked, not wanting to be watched while you dress are perfectly reasonable universal desires, not homophobia. If you were a girl, he'd be seen as a creep 100%. His behavior is creepy, and you've tolerated it way longer than you should have had to. I absolutely agree, OP, you are not the a-hole in this situation. You told him how uncomfortable you were with his behavior even before he came out. And even though he apologized, he kept on doing it, which tells me he was doing it on purpose. That is sexual harassment. And like the last commenter said, if you were a girl, this thing would be a huge issue for everyone in that house. Gay or straight, you should respect other people's boundaries, even more so after they tell you how uncomfortable they are. And also, that mom is complicit by normalizing her son's behavior. That's just bad parenting. What do you guys think about this whole thing? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on with the update to see what ended up happening. Okay, I know it hasn't been that long, but crap kinda hit the fan this week. So thanks everyone for supporting me through this case. I felt like I was losing it with everyone at home making me feel like crap. It helped a lot that people understood what I was dealing with and didn't make me feel bad for feeling the way I do. Some comments were saying I needed to tell my mom about what was going on since she didn't know, even though I felt bad about it. A day after I posted, I told her. First about the way Steven was acting with me, and then how they were all giving me crap about being homophobic since I decided to move out of my room after he came out. She was pissed the F off. She told me to put my dad on, and I could hear her yelling at him from the phone when I gave it to him. My dad wasn't happy, and they were arguing for like a half hour. But he said he was sorry for not really doing much for me about Steven, and my mom says she doesn't want me there. 'Cause of Steven, and also doesn't like that I'm sleeping in the basement, and doesn't know if it's even safe for me down there since it's an old basement. My mom told me she wants me over there with her, but only if I want to. School is online, and I don't see any of my friends anyways, so it wouldn't be a big deal if I stayed with her. I talked to my dad and then to my mom. He was mad that I wanted to go with her, but he didn't tell me anything else. She drove all the way back here and picked me up on Thursday. Been here at the hotel she's staying at since Friday. It's more chill to be honest. I'm here alone most of the time since my mom has to work all day, so I like the privacy. I've talked to my dad and he says they're gonna talk to Steven. I don't know how that's gonna go when my stepmom was still all defensive about him when I left. We'll see, I guess. I don't know for how long we'll be here. I think another 2 to 3 months, but at least I'm not there at my dad's for the moment with all those uncomfortable vibes. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say, since everyone was really helpful about what I should do and how I don't need to be dealing with that crap. Well, OP, at least you're out of that situation and that environment, which, yeah, it was definitely uncomfortable for you, so it's a good thing that you talked to your mom. Hopefully, your dad can turn the stepmother around because she was just enabling a crappy behavior on Steven's part, and they can both talk to Steven so that they can help him see that what he was doing was absolutely wrong. In the meantime, OP, enjoy the privacy. All the best. So now, let's move on to another post. This one's from user throwaway248483. Am I the a-hole for not telling my husband about my current medical situation? I would like to start by noting that I struggle with social issues and have a history of making fact-based logical decisions, in my opinion. Many of which I have been told were cold, cruel, mean, although that was never my intention. My husband has been my emotional interpreter for many years. Since I can't ask him, I'm hoping that the redditors of Am I the A-hole can help me out. For the last 18 months or so, I've been seeing doctors to diagnose an ongoing and progressive issue. Finding and diagnosis has been delayed due to the health crisis, so I have not yet been formally diagnosed. It's pretty certain that I have some form of neuromuscular disease, but which one has yet to be determined. I have not told my husband this. The reasons I have not are 1. He has been very depressed over this past year, lockdown, etc. 2. He has a tendency to overreact and downward spiral when bad things happen. 3. I don't want to cause him unnecessary pain when at this point I'm not sure what's going on. 4. I am also stressed out and don't think that I can manage his reaction at this point. 5. When I was deciding if I should tell him, I asked him a theoretical question if he would want to know about potential bad news. His response was, ignorance is bliss. Notes: I do plan to tell him once I have a diagnosis and a plan in place. My husband is very sweet, but not very observant. He has not noticed or asked about anything. I have never flat out lied to him, although I do acknowledge and understand that an omission is less than truthful. I was talking to a mutual friend who happens to be a nurse, and she was appalled that I went this long without saying anything. She also knows my husband pretty well and thinks he's going to be really mad about this. We have kids, he needs to prepare himself, etc. My thinking is that he was going to be mad anyways, and I was giving him more time to enjoy life before the bombshell drops. Plus, I've already made all the necessary preparations. Am I the a-hole? Should I tell him now? Thank you. The judgment is no a-holes here. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Elegant Ant says, no a-holes here. This is a tough situation. I understand wanting to conceal disturbing information from your husband since he may end up in a depressive spiral. I might bring it up in a way designed to convey basic information and not spark a trip to Dr. Google to find out how many weeks you have left. Something like, I've been having these symptoms X and X and may have to go for some tests to figure out what it is. So far, it affects my life in Y and Z ways. Don't go into prognosis, just facts about what the situation is now. That way, when you have a real diagnosis, he won't be hurt that you've been concealing a health issue from him for over a year. Cats Away 9 says, no a-holes here. He said ignorance is bliss, and you don't have anything definite to tell him yet. Once you do, you're going to tell him. I do think it's too bad for you that you can't tell him and have him share your stress and be a support to you at what must be a very difficult time. But you know him best. If he would need support more than being able to provide support, then it's probably easier on you not to tell him. Your friend isn't living in your shoes and shouldn't judge the situation from the outside. Sorry you're going through this. Hope you get an answer soon and that it's not as bad as you expect. The Raccoon Ninja says, I get the impression that in your marriage, he does most of the feeling work and you do most of the serious work. And that there's a pattern when there's a problem he worries and you solve. But in this case, the coming worry just seems too big for you to manage and you're waiting for a diagnosis, so you have a logical, concrete plan to balance that. If all this sounds familiar, you have to find a way to balance the scales. You need to feel and he needs to step up and support you. When you're ready to tell him, just don't give him the medical terms and treatments. Tell him your worries, the dreams you're grieving, and what you've been struggling with. No a-holes here. I thought about this one for a while, but I will have to agree in the end that there are no a-holes here. I would call you the a-hole OP if your husband was able to deal with this kind of stress and you're just making a decision for him. That would be wrong. But in this case, from the way that you tell it, it sounds like the better choice to not tell him anything now because there's nothing concrete yet and you're just waiting for results. The good thing is, like the last commenter says, you do have a plan for when you get those results. Hopefully, your husband won't be that much overwhelmed and he'll be able to become a support for you. And hopefully, whatever you're going through is not that serious and it's actually something that you can manage and handle with the proper treatment. But at this point, that's just wishful thinking. So let's move on to the update to see what happened with OP. I thought that my update might be important to someone who might be considering taking advice from Am I the A-hole? Especially others with cognitive emotional impairments, as I did and it blew up in my face. I read all comments and the overwhelming majority of commenters told me that I should tell my husband about my illness, despite my gut feeling it wasn't a good time to do so. I second-guessed my judgment because of my disorder and followed Am I the A-hole's advice. Bad idea. My husband had a complete breakdown. Although he is not explicitly angry with me, he doesn't understand why I did this right now. He knows that I did not require his emotional support. It would have been a very different story if I did. He feels like he needs to carry the emotional burden of everything in our marriage, which is true, and that I was putting more on his plate when he was already struggling. He said that I had nothing to gain from telling him and he had everything to lose. He's been having severe anxiety attacks and insomnia, had to take some time off work, which sucks for us financially, but unsafe for him to work as he is. I genuinely appreciate the people who took the time to understand the intricacies of my situation, even though the advice didn't work out. Thank you. The judgmental ableist trolls with zero compassion can get effed. Well, that sucks. I'm sorry, OP. You knew better, definitely, like you say. I have to say though, your husband's reaction, a little bit selfish. Maybe I'm gonna get called out on that one, but him telling you that you just threw an emotional burden on him, that's kinda sucky. But I honestly don't know anything about your relationship, so maybe I'm just talking out of my butt. It is kinda weird to me to rest easy in knowing that your spouse needs no emotional support whatsoever. But if that's the dynamic that works for you because of your personality traits, then it is what it is. What do you guys think about this whole relationship dynamic they've got going on and what OP ended up doing? Let me know in the comment section, and in the meantime, OP, I hope your husband starts feeling better and I hope that you get a positive diagnosis. All the best, OP. Take care. And so we've reached the end of the video. I truly hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to reach our goal of 100,000 subscribers. Also, if you feel like chatting with others from this community, you can always join my Discord server and check out my subreddit. I'll leave the links in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next video.